I've always thought of it as like you're stirring things up. If you're constantly in the mood, you're constantly paying attention, you're interested and curious, you start stirring things up, and it's amazing what comes to you. It's shots on goal, right? Dude, you are such a cliche.
Dude, you're the king of cliches.
I like cliches.
You love
and
them.
that's what we're gonna go this episode. The whole concept of what we're gonna chat through today is cliches get a bad rap because they're overused. I think people often think that they're lazy to just go to a cliche. But the more that I reflected on it, it's like that's the whole reason is that cliches are time tested. Enough people have found them to be valuable that you can be lazy and divert to them because they're time tested, and there's just evidence that they work. So you can call them cheesy or lazy or whatever, but I think there's some good ones, and we're gonna kind of talk through them and some of our favorite ones, and as well as transition into the concept that we thought might be a full episode, but ties into this in regard to luck and fortune, and a couple of cliches that just talk about the differences between luck and fortune, and how you can kind of use that to become luckier and more fortunate yourself. What do you think?
That's great. I love that you brought this topic up. And I mean, how many times you say, I mean, you're in sales. How many times you say cliche terms on sale? And then sometimes you're like, man, I can't believe I just said that. But I think what we're excited about is like, these didn't like cliches. Yeah, that sometimes sound annoying. Like the ones we're going to go through, like, oh my God, I've heard that a million times. But they didn't start that way. They were like, they started as phrases of wisdom and actually meant something. And people understood the meaning or didn't understand the meaning right away, but then they became to understand the meaning and then realized, oh, that was deep. And then now we say it so often and it's so normal that you don't really think about the depth anymore. And so I think we're going to try and dive into some of them.
Yeah, you bring up a good point, like the difference between when you talk about corporate, like corporate buzzwords and
Yeah.
corporate, we're gonna find synergies and sync up and circle back. That's not really what we're talking about. That's actually kind of funny. I enjoy the social media that goes after the buzzwords in corporate, but that's really not what this is about. It's kind of time tested things that people say that hit home, and hit home for a reason, and to kind of reflect on them. And I think like if we think about the other premises, instead of asking why it's overused, ask why has it lasted. I think is really the premise here.
It's a good perspective.
Yeah, yeah. So I guess yeah, I'll start. One of my I've been thinking about urgency a lot lately, and I think that time is money is what I'll kick it off with, and this balance between, you know how I am with paradoxes and probably overthinking things so much, but the balance between preparation and actually just getting something done. Like, we don't really reward intelligence, we reward action. So the fact that time is money, Elon has obviously made this popular with how can I compress time to get to an outcome, and that's what the market rewards, right? How quickly can I get this done? And not in a sloppy way, not in a desperate way of just acting to act, but time is money, I think, is one that's thrown around a lot, and we'll kick it off there.
Time is money. It reminds me of the one I had written down, which was actions speak louder than words. Like it's the same thing, right? Like you see it all the time, especially on social media, of people speaking and spewing all this stuff and all the things that they're doing. But you actually, if you had a conversation with them in real life, they're not really doing anything.
Yeah.
And you know, you're so in tune with that, and you kind of get wrapped up in it sometimes. But when you are genuinely next to somebody who takes a lot of action, and it's purposeful action, time is money. Like they're so focused and they're so laser, like they're dialed in that their time is so important to them, and it's so structured that it's like, I'm not going to waste my time. Like every wasted minute is a dollar or $10 or $100 or a penny, whatever it is. And so they look at those like, the actions I'm going to take, they're going to be aligned action. And I'm going to figure out the right
It's like what
moves.
Oglesby said in our Junta meeting coming back from basic training. He's like, just realized that, honestly, my mind, I almost answered that wrong. Said, what's the most important asset we have? And I was going to say health or energy. But it really is time, and those go together. Like
Dude, that, by the way, like just to pivot, that was such a great talk with
Oh,
Oglesby. And for the listeners, there's a guy in our group that just went to base camp, boot camp for the
basic
Army.
training for
Basic
the Army
training. There
Reserve.
you go.
Yeah.
Thank you. Army Reserve. He's 49 years old. He did the same thing with the Navy when he was 18, but 30 years later, here he is going back, and he just felt called to do it. And I mean, the epitome of challenging yourself on purpose. But the perspectives that he shared with us was really eye opening. It was really cool, and it very much was like, forget everything else, figure out your priorities, and you may only have two of them, and it could be your spouse and your kids, and that's it. Like, and that's all you focus on, and it'll level
Dude,
up
I felt like
everything
a
else.
soft piece of crap after listening to him talk. It's like, what am I doing?
Yeah,
You know what I mean? It was eye opening.
I dabbed him up and like gave him a hug, and I was like, holy shit, you're like the dude from Fantastic Four, like all boulders. he was rock solid, man.
Well, back to cliches. How about put your money where your mouth is? When we
Yeah.
talk about people that are saying a lot, there's a cliche for you. And that is all I can say is that is a guy that is not talk, but all action.
Oh yeah, he said he was going to do it and did it.
Incredible.
Crazy.
Another one on time I had was strike while the iron's hot. I know this one hits home for you when you're like in regard talking about opportunity. Are you ready for opportunity? And we're waiting for timing for a lot of the things that we're doing. If you have the right offer at the wrong time, it's an uphill battle. But strike while the iron's hot's one that popped up for me.
That's a good one, and that one's tough too because you could see that iron's hot, and you don't always jump because you still have that voice in your brain's like, well, what if it doesn't work out? And you just got to strike and see what happens, because the more times you do it, usually it's beneficial and it works out. But yeah, that's a good one. Do you know where that one came from? Strike with iron's hot. Is this something to do with like? I feel like it's the medieval.
Sounds
times,
medieval,
like
yeah.
Like,
it sounds medieval, but I don't know.
It's got to be like it's hot and you got to take.
Or it could just be blacksmithing in general for like horses or whatever. Like, because anytime you're manipulating metal, you're working with metal. You've got to do it while it's malleable.
Yeah,
that's like that. I think we just solved it.
I think we did. All right. So another time one I have is the early bird gets the worm.
Yeah, and that's probably top 5 cliches of all time.
Of all time. And it's like the early bird gets the worm. And I always remember it being used as like, get up early, the early bird gets the worm, but it doesn't mean necessarily getting up at 5 a.m. Like, I feel like it could, but it's more so of like trends. Like, are you early to what's about to happen? Strike like while the iron's hot. It's a similar type of dynamic.
But I got a question for you.
Yeah, what?
If the early bird gets the worm, what if you're the worm? You don't want to be an early worm because then you'd be gotten by the bird.
Right. You got to be a late worm. But you want to be an early bird. You don't want to be a worm. What kind of life is that?
Oh, God.
At least the bird.
Now you're taking me to one of my favorite ones from sales, from one of my first first sales kickoffs. It was like we were up early the next day, not feeling well. And one of the leaders said, if you're going to roll with the pigs at night, you got to fly with the eagles in the morning.
I love it. That's kind of like the Wolf of Wall Street. Like, if you're going to party with the boys, you got to wake up with the men.
Yeah.
Similar idea, right?
Oh, wait, we're just going to be fire these at the listeners. Just cliche central.
No, but okay. Early bird gets the worm. Like, let me, as you would say, double click on it. Like, it's not the 5 a.m. routine. It's literally like, if you're, I'll use this as an example of like, I'll use the stock market. I talk about this a lot, but if you're like really watching a company and it's not quite profitably, it's a speculative deal. Like, it's speculative stocks. It's got a lot of backing, but there's a lot of dilution. They're raising a ton of money, but you believe in it. Whoever invests in that early, it's going to pay dividends 10 years from now. But no one really thinks about, they're too scary, right? Like, I'm not saying stock picking is the way to go, but like Buffett, majority of his wealth came from picking 4 stocks. Like, it wasn't like he got them all right. He only got like 4 of them right, and they paid handsomely, right? Like Microsoft and, we're talking about Berkshire Hathaway, obviously, like the early days. But like, if you have those like if you're investing in some of the bigger ones now, yeah, you're going to still turn in income and do really well, like compounding interest and all that stuff with the S&P 500 and whatever. But if you were to pick one of those speculative ones and you really believe in it, like an AI stock or something like that, and it's at like $5 a share or $10 a share, and all of a sudden 10 years from now, like look at Nvidia, dude. Nvidia was $1 a share 20 years ago, 10 years ago. And now it's, it's 150 or 180 a share.
Absolutely. And I think even if you just look at markets in general, the first actor principle, early bird gets the worm, in the sense of the first key player in a market is always has the first actor advantage. Most times. You could also argue that there's a lot of examples where someone that duplicates but takes better action on the like Facebook, you know what I mean? Creates a competitor and takes more action faster, but you're still talking about the early bird being the first couple in the space.
It's the first movers that get all the attention, and then you're going to have those. You're going to have like the MySpace of the world, and then Facebook comes in. But that leads me to the next cliche that can piggyback off on this is like, don't go down with a sinking ship, bro. If that speculative stock is not working for you, don't sell your good ones to buy more of that. Like you've got to be really, really dialed in.
Never let go, Jack.
Don't let go, Jack. Dude, have you seen some of these AI recreations of that scene?
They're gold. They're like, especially the ones that compare what was Rose actually doing. She should have been with the other guy all along, not the homeless guy that was painting,
drawing pictures of her.
Too good.
That's so good.
Well, that'll take us into, I got some for like relationships and whatnot here. And one shout out to my dad. I remember this super young. I mean, I'm talking 7 or 8 years old, probably. You get more with honey than you do with vinegar. And I remember it was being combative with mom or something like that. It was something stupid. Obviously I'm 7 or 8, but he just took me aside and he's like, let's replay that and see if you would have gone this direction. And had a better, more warm approach to your mother. Like you're on the same side of the table. Son, you get more with honey than you will with vinegar. And it's that whole, even if you're in a negotiation, you want to be on the same side of the table. You want to be warm. You want to say what's in it for both of us, and have a sweet approach rather than fighting, which if you're abrasive, we all know how that ends. You really don't want to be combative unless you absolutely have to be.
That was a really reflective exercise he took you through. How old were you? Do you remember, what was the earliest age you remember doing that?
I think it was like 7 or 8. It was, that wasn't really common for my dad to like. But that one really stuck with me. I mean, he did. He had those at the really important times, but he definitely wasn't shooting cliches at me left and right.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's a good one. It leads me to my next one that kind of piggybacks off that a little bit, and it has to do with karma, and it's what goes around comes around. Like,
oh, man, I've got a similar one.
It's like if you're going to act a fool, then people are going to act a fool back to you, and it's that one's very much relationship driven. So when you take care of those around you and you have that giver's gain mentality, that's kind of where that comes from. But it's a moral framework, and it's just like who you are. And if you're compassionate, if you have empathy, if you're strong, that's what's going to come back around to you, and it becomes fruitful if it's positive. I
love that you had that one. I've got essentially the same thing. And we've talked a little bit about the sacred texts on this podcast I'm just obsessed with the consistencies across them. If you really had to sum them up, it's what you just said, like the golden rule, right? Literally almost all the sacred texts roll up to the golden rule. It's just treat others as you want to be treated. Like you are, whatever your higher power belief is, God is in you, God is in me. Treat each other as if you were, God lives in them too. We're all equal, and the golden rule is the epitome of everything, and it's right there with what you just said. So I love that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure your mom said the same thing. Treat as if you'd want to be treated. Right?
It's pretty simple, isn't it?
It was funny, actually. So Jack was going to school, and there was a kid that was kind of giving him some crap. No, I think it was on his baseball team. And he's like, oh, his new team. And the kid was kind of giving him crap about like missing a ball or something, right? Like, oh, don't let Jack, get the ground balls, because like they were trying to fill each other out and whatever. And I go, here's what you do, Jack. When that kid makes an error, you go over to him, and instead of doing the exact same thing he's doing to you, and be like, hey man, you got it next time, you're good. And so like the opposite effect, right?
By example, yeah.
Exactly. So what goes around comes around. And now he's, a month and a half in, and everyone, it's just a good way to rebound from someone picking on you or saying something to you that you don't really know yet. And then that same kid does the exact same thing. It happens with adults too. They do is, hey, you're good, man. You got this. Even though they just gave you a bunch of crap for the same thing.
I love it. On that note, while we're still on kind of relationships in that area, show me your friends, I'll show you your future.
Yeah, it's like the best, or the closest 5 people around you.
Yeah, your environment.
Yeah.
It's tested, tried and true. Everyone, there's no one that's going to disagree with that, or very few people will. I'm
And
sure.
there's so many times like throughout life, you have these chapters, like you heard of this of chapter people. Like the people are just meant to be in your life for just a period of time. They're not meant to be in your life for a long
Yeah,
time.
friends that run their course. Yeah, we've talked about that. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, and if you're not auditing those, I mean, you got to, if you're trying to level up and you know in your heart of hearts that you want to get to where you want to go and you're being held back, you got to check those.
How about what doesn't kill you makes you stronger?
That's a good one, but that's painful. There's some times where you're like, man, why am I challenging myself so hard?
Just kill me.
Yeah.
That was my other favorite part of. I don't even know if we can share that with the Oglesby's speech. Uh, he said, "How are you going to do it?"
Yeah, right. Right. And they totally shut that guy
I don't
out.
know if we should share that or not, but that one actually made me laugh because of how
Yeah.
he delivered it so straightforward.
Yeah, that's well, actions speak louder than words in a negative way. But he was just all talk. It was like you just needed somebody to care for. What about less is more? That's a good marketing one. Sales.
I love that. Like back to the basics. So we talk about keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah. The KISS method.
Yeah, I mean, I think as we talk through these, they're infinite, right? There's so many of these, and would love to hear from the listeners your favorite cliches. Hit us up with them, but it really had me thinking and reflecting on luck versus fortune because sometimes I really do just feel like I am a lucky person, even when I just really believe that I'm just super fortunate, and I don't just say that um, to discount any hard work. Just things that have happened in my life are lucky, but the cliche of you create your own luck is something I love in the story. Get a little Irish here, but I forget where we got this. It was a movie or cartoon or something, and someone had uh, a 3-leaf clover. And I remember I did this to my sister while we were at church one time, and you tear one of the leaves of the 3-leaf clover and you turn it into a 4. You say create your own luck. You're going to talk about cheesy.
Yeah.
It's cheesy, but it's like
That's cheesy.
when you talk, I know. I've always thought of it as like you're stirring things up. If you're constantly in the mood, you're constantly paying attention, you're interested and curious, you start stirring things up, and it's amazing what comes to you. It's shots on goal, right?
Yeah.
And so that whole idea of, I think it works the other way too. When people say they're unlucky, that seems to come into fruition too. Like if you really believe that, you're probably not stirring enough positive stuff up or row it in the direction you want to go.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. I think you look in the mirror and be like, well, what do your evenings look like? What do your weekends look like? What does your day look like at work? Like if you have an office job, are you putting yourself out there and trying to find new ways to be an asset to the team? Or are you just sitting at your desk and just staying in your lane and doing your job? Right. Or if you're an entrepreneur, like, are you out networking and building relationships, or are you just trying to do social media and hope that, people will buy? Like, you're lucky
Yeah.
because I love that stir in the pot. Like you're mixing up the world. Like you're putting yourselves in so many different situations and meeting so many different types of people that you never know what the opportunities are going to come your way. And you start saying yes to more. And then you'll figure out where you need to focus and where you need to align. I feel the same way though. Like I think like there's been a lot of pivotal moments. There's been some stuff that has not gone well, but I think it's all perspective. Like
Yeah.
things don't go well for everybody, but how do you react to those? And how do you look at it as a blip? It's like, oh, this is just in the grand scheme of things, this is a blip on the radar of my 80, 90-year-old life or whatever I'm going to have. Right. Like, I just, you have to look at these things in perspective, and then you just feel lucky because you're just moving and grooving and you're not really stopping to think like too much about the negative.
Another one of those cliches on this topic, which I didn't even have written down here, was, and I've heard it credited to multiple people. I know Gary Player said it in the golf world, but I don't think he gets credit. Yogi Berra, I think, is credited with it. I think there's a president, but the harder I work, the luckier I get. And that one's thrown around a lot. And it's like the thing that's just stirring it up. Like effort creates luck.
Yeah. Well, and I'll actually play devil's advocate there.
Okay.
What does the effort look like?
Mhm.
Because we did a whole episode a while back. I can't remember the number, which one it was, but all around busyness. Because
Mm.
you could be feeling like you're working your tail off and you're putting in 12 hours a day and you're working your butt off. But like if you really looked at the amount of work and the quality of work that you're putting in, is it really
Mhm.
going to create that opportunity? Is it really going to create, what you're looking for? I don't know. I think if you got to look at the type of work that you're doing. I think there's people that can figure out how to make it work with 6 hours of dialed in focused work versus 12 hours of busyness. And the 6 hour person might be far more successful in other people's eyes because of how they're working.
Absolutely. And if you're doing an audit and like reviewing your time, I'm telling you, I've gotten borderline depressed looking back at my calendar, doing a review, whether it's a quarter, I did one a full year, and the amount of meetings that led to absolutely nothing that
Yeah.
you prepped for, not only the meeting itself, but the prep, the postmortem, the background work for presentations on it. It's just like, wow. And that's where you get into qualification and really getting better at choosing what you're working on and when to stop, right? When to quit, when to change direction, and sunk cost fallacy, right?
Yeah.
Constant battle.
Yeah. So one of my favorite ones that kind of go piggy's back, piggybacks, piggy's back, piggy's back off of what you're talking about. Is Rome wasn't built in a day. And you talk about fortune and luck and the people that work hard or whatever. This shit takes a long time. And that's what that cliche is all about is like, dude, the Roman Empire wasn't built overnight. And it's like the tip of the iceberg stuff. All of those cliches that have anything to do with what people don't see, what you do behind closed doors, how long it actually takes you. I think those are super important. Like people were saying these things. It's cliche now. Rome wasn't built in a day. So yeah, dude, I know it takes a long time. But like if you really think about how long it actually takes and you really have that drive to keep going, sometimes those can lift you up. Like knowing that like, yeah, this just I'm on the path. This does take a long time. I just got to keep going. I just got to keep going. I think those are important and I don't think they're corny.
No, and my original goal was to talk about luck versus fortune, and other cliches that fortune favors the bold. It was a text message I got early in my career after making a move that was kind of got forced into. Like a number of my areas of my career was just like, hey, this spot needs filling. We think you can do it. Go do it. And it was like after success in that first quarter, first half, I got a text message that just said fortune favors the bold, and it's like, yes, but how many? The bold also comes with a lot of failure with it too. You're gonna strike out, swings on, can't hit speaking of cliches, hit the home run without swinging, right? That is something that fortune favors the bold, but there's also a lot of pain that comes with it. Rory McIlroy's been quoted on that with the Masters. So many heartbreaks. It's like you cannot win major championships without feeling a lot of heartbreak across the board, and every single one of the greats agreed with them. It's like when you embrace that heartbreak and realize it's a part of the process, there's healing that opens up that opening for the big wins and the milestone achievements.
Yeah. Yeah. Those are the lumps. Those are the things that you have to have. Those are the peaks and the valleys and everything you have to go through. Do you know where cliche came from?
No, please enlighten. I know we talked about actually finding that, and I did not include that in my notes.
So yeah, so I did just a quick like synopsis, like a quick research on it. But it came. It's a French verb. I think it's pronounced clicker, but it's meant to
Yeah.
click. It's like a clicking sound or whatever. But it's basically it's a reusable printing plate. So it's just something that's just repeated over and over and over and over the word. And so that's like cliche is a phrase, a wisdom that we use over and over and over and over. So it was used in the printing industry originally, where they created this metal plate to reproduce the same text or image over
Oh,
and
like
over.
printing press. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. The plate would make a distinct clicking noise, and the plate itself became cliche. And then now these phrases that we come to know, they're cliches, and that's came from
And
that.
This may be a
Overused.
cliche podcast, but in the era of being too cool and cringe, it's time to get back to the fundamentals sometimes, and we're okay with being a little cliches. Feel good episode for you listeners. I think that's the pod. We could go all day with these cliches. Share us your favorite cliches, and we'll be back at you next week with a pretty exciting guest that we're excited to bring to the community. So stay tuned.